Hi, everybody. Welcome to you all. The early arrivers, my goodness, T-Lynn and Gina were here like half an hour before showtime. Thank you so much for being here. I have a really special guest today, Jonathan Dailey.
Hello.
I've just been so happy to have you here, Jonathan, and so happy to be able to talk about the projects that you've got underway right now. So please let me find the right banner for this because I prepared. Please hold your questions until after the discussion.
Right.
Because yes. But
well, I have something specific I wanted to do with you guys. So.
Ooh, we're going to be your guinea pigs? I love it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Well, I kind of want to teach everybody here something they can do themselves to really tap into past life healing. Because it's kind of one of my big things is past life regressions. And I feel like a lot of us could really just up our game, so to speak, by really leaning into past lives, learning about our past lives, and finding those patterns that are like based in the past life but still affect us today. Right?
Yeah, patterns are really important. Repeating the same mistake. Okay, Carl, please take a look at the banner and hold your questions until after we've had the discussion, because I'm going to, okay, you know what? I'm going to close the queue.
Oh, okay.
And not open it until the, hang on for a second.
No problem. So,
so that I'm trying to be really mindful
about what I have planned, right? So I'm in the planning process right now of it's two things really, because there's going to be like a 6-week intensive for anyone interested in accessing past life healing and past life work through the tarot. Because I feel like that the tarot is a tool that we could use for so many things, including tapping into the Akashic. And one thing I really want to lean into is helping people the tarot to really dive into the old patterns that kind of
you're breaking up, Jonathan. Jonathan, we have a really bad connection. You're breaking up, and I'm afraid that we're going to lose you momentarily. You're frozen now. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can. So is it a little better? Part of the problem is, I'm on an island in the middle of the Pacific. So
yeah. No, I understand that. I get that. You'll just have to repeat.
Being okay.
Semi okay. Okay. All right. That's better. Okay. So you'll have to. I'm sorry, but you'll have to repeat what you just said because it was completely.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. So part of the reason that I'm having some internet issues is because I'm on an island in the middle of the Pacific, but there's also several fires going on right now, so internet might be a little intermittent. But what I was saying was I am trying to create a program. Well, two really, a 6-week and a 6-month program using the tarot to really dive into past life healing. I feel like a lot of us have these patterns from past lives that kind of sabotage our best life in this lifetime. And by diving into past life healing, learning where those patterns come from, we can really free ourselves from those patterns and truly live our best life. So, that's kind of what I hope to accomplish with these classes. I've been very obsessed with reincarnation and past lives for, I think, probably several lifetimes, truthfully. So I originally got introduced to the whole, I guess technically it's been around my whole, because I remember my mother talking about being the reincarnation of her great aunt. So it's kind of always been there, but then my official, like, let's get into the work session happened when I was about 13. I was at a summer camp in New Jersey taking a class that was all about all new age things. So the teacher taught us the tarot, how to use pendulums, how to work with crystals, energy work, and I mean, the list goes on. And one of the things he did for us was he did a group past life regression for like the entire class, or all the campers who were taking the class. And that was kind of my introduction to the whole like working with past lives. And that first, I think because I was so young, it kind of blew open other doors. So there'd be times I'd be talking with other people and suddenly the two of us or the three of us would suddenly like remember a life together. And they're just kind of like, oh, and then like, you know, something in this life would suddenly click. Oh, that makes so much sense now, right? So I just kind of copied what he did and started doing it when I was a teenager for others. And yeah, I've been doing past life regressions for a long time. And I'm an acupuncturist by trade. And one of the things that I was just getting into when the pandemic hit was acupuncture-aided past life regressions using gold needles. And
talk to me about that, please. How does that work?
So there's a specific acupoints that are really tied into like the chakras or energy work or like spiritual stuff. And I have figured out like a certain pattern of points on the body that and you know, it's like a certain grouping of points. I don't use all of them, and it changes from person to person. But I do a past life regression after I put the needles in, and they're gold needles. And I found that the people who have done it with the acupuncture get a much deeper session. They tend to not just get glimpses of a life, they tend to like remember pretty much the whole thing. Several people came back with that past life's name. So yeah, it's a very powerful thing with those gold needles. But you know, not everyone can come here to Maui, right? So I want to put together like online group coaching kind of thing where we work with the tarot and, you know, a group Zoom past life regression, and you know, I mean, still work on that stuff without necessarily having to fly to Maui to get acupuncture past life regression. I mean, you're welcome to come if you want, but
I can't think of a better thing to do in the middle of January, frankly.
Oh yeah, when all the whales are here, that's the perfect time.
Because yeah, not right now though. Thanks. It's nice right. It's actually really warm. That is really, really fascinating. Do you think it's because so Diane G, who always has like amazing questions, she commented.
Oh yeah, I see her comment.
Yeah, just let me put it.
Acupuncture needles make people more relaxed, so they go deep. Yes, actually. And the points that I use specifically are to help open like energy centers in the body, specifically for the work.
Okay.
So like there's the 4 gates, which just opens up your whole energy system. There's the Tristan Song points, which is like 4 points on the head that it looks like a crown, but it actually opens like the crown chakra and helps with memory. There's a point here in the forehead that I use to help open the 3rd eye. There's points I use in the legs to help ground the person so that they're not floating away. So yeah, I mean, I think that it creates, it's almost ritualistic every time I do it too, because it's like this whole, like we're talking and then the person lays down and we both enter this kind of like
sacred space
together as the needles go in.
Yeah, I feel that when I do Reiki, it becomes its own bubble.
Right. And then I sit down and like half the time it's not even me doing the guided meditation. I feel like it's their guides talking through me. So, because I feel like each time I do it, it's like very unique for that person.
Yeah.
You know. And I always want them to focus on a specific pattern of behavior or pattern of relationship that seems to keep popping up, and they don't even remember where it comes from, why, like when they started doing it. Like it seems like it's always been there because it's from past life. Right? And that's why we get to go to that past life so they can see why that pattern came about. Like what was the reason for that pattern? Because a lot of times those patterns are like self-care in a way at that time, because it was a way of protecting yourself. Surviving, right, exactly. But the problem is we get caught in those patterns and don't know how to break out. And then those patterns follow us through lives. And like if we're like, that's a pattern that's like not even ours to carry anymore, but we're still burdened with it. Like imagine how messed up your life is. And then you get like a pile of it. So let's clear some of that out so you can really live your best life. Right?
I saw a comment fly by because there is a lot of discussion. I saw a comment fly by from Jezebel. Hi, Jezebel. I haven't seen you before. Jezebel. Welcome. And I'm sorry, I'm not saying hello to everybody like I usually do because I really want to. This is fascinating to me. And so welcome, everyone. I love you all. Thank you for being here. You're not going to get an individual hello from me today, probably. Except for Jezebel, because, you know, I'm stealing her comment and putting it up for a discussion here.
Right.
What can you tell her about this?
So when I was in acupuncture school, one of the things they encouraged us to do was to go to people who were about to graduate, because part of my schooling was clinical work. Like I was seeing patients from day one. I mean, at first I was just sitting and watching a teacher do a treatment, but by the end I was an intern seeing my own patients, like going and talking to a teacher before putting the needles in, kind of thing. And there was this woman that came to me who was very skittish. She did not like pain. She did not want anything to do with pain. And she started coming to me, and she was very thankful because my needles usually, like, she didn't really feel them. One day I was booked. She couldn't get in to see me, and she went to see another acupuncturist who, you know, another student who was about my level. And every single needle hurt. And when she complained that it was hurting her, because she was used to my treatments where it didn't hurt, the guy said, "Oh, well, if it doesn't hurt, it's not working."
What? That's
like,
true.
What?
That's
right.
not true.
So
I know that. I'm not.
I always tell people you have to shop around, because not every acupuncturist is made of it.
Yeah.
Some of them are really good herbalists, but don't go for them for needles. Others really great for needling, but maybe they don't know their herbs so well. So
yeah,
in China, I mean, there's people like, if you become a Chinese doctor of Chinese medicine, you're either an acupuncturist or you're an herbalist, not both. Yeah. But here in the United States, acupuncturists have to be both.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to an acupuncturist many years ago she was Chinese. She was trained by her grandfather, who was a master acupuncturist. And she'd been trained by him since she was like 5, because she was going to carry forward his legacy, he decided. And Jezebel says, yeah, that's what they say. If it hurts, it helps. Yeah, that's anyway.
That's not true. One of my teachers, so most of my teachers in acupuncture school were Chinese, like from China. The head of the school, this woman, she actually had learned acupuncture from the royal physician of the last emperor of China, like whose family had been the acupuncturist for the royal family for like, I think it was something like 15 generations or something crazy like that.
Oh.
And so when I found that out, I watched her like a hawk and tried to take as many classes with her as I could, because if any of the royal family felt a needle, that acupuncturist was beheaded. Right? The royal family should not feel pain, should not feel the needles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
well,
I, of course, watched her and tried to emulate what she did as much as possible. And people, I got that comment like, wow, how can you do it when I can't even really feel it? I'm like, I'm just doing what my teachers taught me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
She cured I had really bad carpal tunnel syndrome, and she absolutely cured it. It took a couple of months. But I never felt a needle. Sometimes I felt vibration, and if I looked at my hand and my arm, I could see the needle vibrating, but I didn't like.
Sometimes you can feel like a heaviness, or even like almost like an electric sensation going through the limb.
Yeah.
But I mean, it shouldn't be pain.
Yeah, it shouldn't
maybe
hurt.
A dull ache, maybe, but no sharp pain, no strong pain.
Yeah.
Just kind of like a heaviness and ache.
Yeah.
Like you said, a little vibration going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very cool, and I have so much respect for acupuncture as treatment. I really do. Let's see, where were we going next? You showed me before we started, when we were backstage, Jonathan showed me a project that he's working on. He is writing a guidebook for this, but he has downloaded, he has had downloaded, I should say, into his.
It took me a while to find a manufacturer. So.
This whole rune system that, please talk about it, because.
So, getting back to the subject of tarot, since that's kind of
divination.
Divination.
Want to stop reading.
One of the things that I'm focused on is using tarot for past life healing. One of the things that happened to me during the pandemic was I ended up diving a lot deeper into the esoteric side since I had the time, right? And I took a class on witch runes with Ethany. And her witch runes, instead of the typical 13, I think it was 20, 24, something like that. But hers was just like she had updated the witch runes to be her own thing. And hearing that triggered this weird download where I ended up seeing this whole system of runes specifically for tossing on top of a tarot reading. And they are discs. I'll show you a few of them. And they're two-sided. So there's a dark side. So here we've got the symbol for earth. And the alchemical and elemental symbol for earth, right? But I have more things in here. There's 13 discs of 26 runes. So we got the lemniscate tied with the cord. I'm just showing you a few of these. Little teaser. We got the triple goddess with the horn god. We've got sunset, for endings, and sunrise for beginnings.
And you said
candle magic and cauldron magic. It's like a whole system that is downloaded. So we got the symbol for healing with the symbol for scythe, right? The endings. So it's a whole system of 13 discs, 26 runes completely. It took me 2 years to find a place that I could get these actually made instead of making them by hand, which I've been doing. So I'm in the process now of focusing on writing the guidebook so that others can use the system. And it's kind of hard because it was a download and I'm trying to translate it into like the written word on page, and might take me a little while to do that translation. But
so you cast them. Oh, so you do a tarot spread,
right.
and then do you interpret it and then cast the runes, or do you just then cast the runes and read the whole thing
I've
in
done
one?
both ways, where I do the spread first, interpret the spread, and
Okay.
then cast the runes on top as kind of like clarifier. Then I've also done it where it's like I put out the spread and then I threw the runes before I read, so that it was like a whole reading together, right? So I mean, that's part of the process of making a guidebook, is like, because you can also do it where you just like you get a casting cloth and you toss a handful on. You don't need the cards, right?
Yeah.
So, right.
Wow, that blows me away. That is so cool. What else are you doing? Okay.
So getting
Now
back
what?
to the whole past life thing, after that, when I was 13, I went to a used bookstore and started collecting books.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
These are my first couple of books. I pulled out a few. I mean, I got a lot of past life regression books. So, right.
Okay, past lives, future, same soul, many bodies. Yeah, I've read both of those long time ago, but I've never seen the reincarnation workbook.
This one, I don't think it's even in print anymore. Let me see. When was this printed? I got this I got it used in the 90s. It's originally printed in 1989, so it might still be printed. I'm not sure.
That was when I was up
Aquarian
north.
Press, part of Thorson's publishing group. I'm not sure. But yeah, so this was like one of the first. Oh my God. The bill of sale is still there. That's so funny. So I bought it in 93, apparently. God, how old was I then?
Well, I can understand now why I never saw it.
I think I was like 17 or 18.
I was in a non-book store place in the Arctic at the time. So, yeah.
Well, part of the reason I wanted to put together this, like the 6-week intensive plus like a 6-month like group coaching program, is because I was looking for stuff about like using the tarot for past life work, and the only thing I could find was this book, Samsara Tarot, Readings for the Reincarnating Soul, right?
Okay.
It's like, I don't know, I mean, there's some good information here, but it's just like so many like random spreads that have way too many cards. And then there's all these like forms you're supposed to photocopy and fill out for people you're giving readings to.
I hate books like that.
So, and this is the only book I've been able to find using the tarot for like past life work.
Until the book
Does
that you're
anyone else know of any books out there that talk about?
Nancy says that book is available used on Amazon.
This one? I'm assuming this one?
Yeah, I guess so, because
I'm sure there's probably still copies out there. It was it's an interesting book. They go into different ways people have in history have tried to access their
Nancy
memories. So like working with dreams to like learn their past lives, working with hypnosis, regression research. They have like multiple different ways of doing it. So including one I think that was all about doing out of body experience, where you go to the Akashic to like read your past life book. So yeah, we've got some interesting stuff in here.
Oh, hang on for a second. I'm just going to
try. Oh, Rossi says Nancy Jean does past life readings with tarot. Oh, cool.
I didn't know
Nancy
that.
Jean.
Rossi, hi. I didn't realize that.
I need to, I don't think I know Nancy Jean.
Nancy Jean's Garden. She mostly, the work that I've seen her do, because I haven't seen her do this, is with grids and crystal grids. And she does amazing work with that. Hi, Hershey.
I'm all about crystal grids, especially the wearable ones.
Well, yeah, I know. And well, do you want to say a little bit about the work that you're doing with those, those?
So my necklaces I only use crystals. I don't use glass ever. Although this one does have some pearls in it, but I do consider those a type of gem.
Well, if they're real pearls,
yeah,
that has vibration. Pearls. Yeah.
And so I make necklaces. They're all one of a kind, unique, made to order specifically for the person. I usually ask for like sun, moon, and rising sign. And then I usually ask their guides to come in when I'm working, because usually what I do is I ask them, what is it that you want to focus on? What do you want the tool to be used for? Some people have asked for ancestor work. Some people want it just to help them like feel calm on the inside, right? So I go through their sun, moon, and rising, plus the crystals that would work best for whatever thing they want to focus on, and pull out all the ones that kind of like match both categories. And then I have them piled in front of me, and I ask for the guys to come in, and I just start weaving. Like half the time I don't even remember making it. It just like come back. And I'm like, oh, well, that's pretty. Did I make that? Yes, Jezebel has one. And so does Nancy, Crohn's Intuition. So yeah, they're amazing, magical little spiritual treasures. You can order them on Etsy at Drek Corvid's Treasures, and if you want 30% off, use the word aloha, all caps, just for you guys. Right?
Oh, gee, thanks. So you guys make a note of that, because that is
my Etsy store is open. It says I have 37 necklaces available, but I just I probably can get more ingredients to make more. So don't think that I only have 37 left.
Hey, that's enough. That's enough.
And if you are interested in possibly signing up for the past life healing with Tarot 6-week intensive, please email me with like a 6-week intensive in the subject line, and just let me know. That way I can start getting a list together for people who are interested in diving into how the Tarot can help you with past life healing.
Let me just create a banner for you for that.
Leah, maybe ask where Jonathan's located. I am in Hawaii. I am on the island of Maui.
So this is DaileyAcupuncture@gmail.com, right?
Yes. Yeah, let me hold that up.
There we go. Okay, I'm putting it up on the screen. And I'm taking this down and turning the ticker off on that. Hold on.
So one way of using the Tarot for past life work that I'm going to share with you guys today that you can take away and use in your own practice is, I don't know, do you have a specific deck you use for?
Well, I forgot to get it down. Can you just excuse me for 1 minute?
Oh, sure. No problem. I'll talk a little bit about decks and which decks would be good.
I generally just raw dog the Akashic. I don't use a deck to get in there.
No, I get it.
Yeah, but
and some of us like to lean on the cards because I feel, for me, like I've had multiple people tell me I don't really need the cards, but I like having the cards there so that my querens can like have something to like visually
focus on.
See, right?
I make these people just focus on my beautiful face. I mean, they just have to, suck it up. I'll be right back.
Just something as simple as like RWS clone, or if you think you might be from like Russian ancestry or like have had a past life in Russia, I could always do something like grab the Tarot of the Golden Wheel, or you're sure you've had a Celtic past life. Well, grab the Jewicraft or, you know, whatever. One that I just got this year that I think would be perfect for this is Unfinished Business.
Oh,
by the creator of the
Crow. Yeah, I have the Crow Tarot. I got it as a gift.
This one's fun because each card it represents like a ghost with an unfinished story, and the guidebook tells their story. It's really it's so much fun. Another one I like for ancestor work and past life work is the Relative Tarot.
Oh,
I love this one for. I mean,
that's
the
very
card
cool.
a little hard for people who might have hand issues.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And then the other one I like to use a lot for past life work is the Mott Tarot.
Aha.
Julia Watts. Yeah.
Julia, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I don't even know. I think this might still be in production, but I backed a Kickstarter. But and that's Uncover Your Past Lives work.
I have that.
Yeah.
This is
a fun little deck to play with, I gotta say.
Really, I find it really, really difficult to use.
Really? Yeah.
Maybe it's because maybe I'm just.
You know what? I had a little issue at first because I wasn't sure exactly. Like, I didn't know how to approach it in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, that's probably my problem.
Right. Well, I mean, it's hard when it's like you can read the front and the back, and each side has like so many different.
Exactly.
Like, so many different.
Exactly.
So,
like I don't even know where to begin.
About some of these, it's like you get like a main thing, servant, right, and then like there's 4 different things that could be like connected to it, but then on the backs you also get like lesson, death, location. So, I mean, I could see how it's a little overwhelming.
I just looked at it and went, and then I read the guidebook. I'm not a total moron. I know about read the manual, RTFM, right. But well,
I mean,
wasn't that helpful.
I think this is actually sold separately now. So
yeah, it is. I have that too. Yeah, I did read it honestly, but it wasn't.
You know what? I had a hard time with it at the beginning too, but then when I just let go and just turned it into like, well, whatever pops up, and I always would just read which like what was the top thing, and if it was between, then it was like talking about both. It's just a thing. I don't know, and that was just how I started reading with it, and it started just kind of opening up for me. So just keep playing with it. I think it's part of the thing with this deck is like you just have to play with it until it clicks.
The deck I use for channeling, okay, because I don't use it for reading for past lives, is Tarot of Mystical Moments by Katrine Veltz-Stein or Stein. Right. I love it because of the imagery. The imagery just
amazing.
Yeah, it just opens up so much, and it helps me open up my creative, imaginative channel, right. so that I can receive the channeled messages that are coming to me, you know. But honestly, I'm not sure. Like people who actually read tarot, I don't know how you could concentrate to read tarot, because I look at this and all I can see are these wonderful images that just like grab me by the heart and don't let go. And it's true, like it's true even for like, I mean, I have like 25 decks, which is, you know, a lot for I know Gerald has 300 or however many, but
I don't even want to talk about how many.
I'm not going to ask you because I know that it's like
I truly I am not
my
sure
yarn. How much yarn do I
have? Around 700, you know, I want to say. I don't even know.
It's fine. You know, how many pairs of shoes did I give away when I was clearing out? Yeah, okay, we won't talk about that. And you know, if you can pay your bills and eat and your obligations are met, then what you do with the rest of it is entirely entirely non-issue for me anyway. It's totally not an issue. Oh, Nancy said something really interesting. Hang on just a second. Mandy Peterson. She's the one
amazing.
who.
I've had her on my channel.
Have you? She commented on my video on her past lives oracle and kind of gave me a nutshell guide to using her deck. Lovely lady, devastated that her deck was hijacked and bootlegged. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. So many decks have been bootlegged at this point.
Well, that's why I'm really careful about the decks that I buy, and I try to get them directly from the creator.
Exactly.
Because most of them have websites, and you can buy them from their website. So yeah.
Mandy's got an Etsy shop where she has all of her decks.
Yeah.
There's no reason to buy the cheap one that's only $5, but it's a knockoff.
So Nancy, tell me, this nutshell guide, is that in your comments on the video on her past lives oracle? Is that where that is? Because I would really, I'm going to have to watch that video of yours. I didn't know you had it because honestly, no, I do not have the Wildwood deck. I have stopped buying decks because I have every deck that I wanted and some that it never occurred to me to want. But anyway, I have some Lenormand decks. I have
right, you got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I do, and really, it's enough for me. I'm.
Nancy says yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's where. Yeah, I don't want any more decks. Please don't send me any decks. I don't want any more decks because I have as much as I can manage.
Well, and that's not how you tap in. Really.
Well, it kind of is in the sense that I do use it for channeling. I do use the mystical tarot for channeling, but otherwise, no, that's not how I tap in. And this is like, we're 40 minutes in, and this is like twice as long than I thought it was going to last. But it's really interesting what you're doing, and I think important for the whole community to know.
Well, let's get to the lesson.
Let's get to the lessons. Okay, so now I'm going to open. So how do you want to do this? Do you want people to just say me?
Yeah, just say me.
Yeah?
I don't know how many we want to do because
I'm thinking.
Or
like,
we could also just have people do it for themselves too.
Okay, so those of you who have decks handy, it's going to take
into 3 piles.
Yes.
Quartz, majors, and minors. And there's a reason for this.
Wait, you guys. Oh my God. Wait, because the people are saying, and I haven't even set up.
Oh my God, it's exploding, isn't it?
Stop.
I haven't even explained yet. Okay, so we break it into quartz, majors, and minors for a reason. And it's in this order for a reason too. So you're going to have 3 piles in front of you. You pick from the first pile the court card, which kind of represents your past self, what they were like, their traits, the roles that they would have played, kind of relationships they would have had, that kind of stuff. You can really read a lot about that just from the court card. Right? And then you're going to pick from the second pile, which is majors, and that represents the life lessons and karmic themes from that past life that you pulled the court card, right? And then the third pile is the minors, which is how that karma from your past life shows up in your current life, right? It'll help us identify the patterns impacting your present circumstances. So it helps you just kind of see how that past life karma shows up for you now, if it's a pattern that's still kind of connected to you. So I have just separated out the universal weight just because it's quick.
Oh, yeah. So the majors and the minors, the major arcana is the cards that have the numbers on them in usually, depending on the deck, but it's usually Roman numerals, and they have titles. They're called the Hierophant. They're called the Justice, Temperance. Yeah, the Chariot. Yeah, the court cards are kings, queens, pages, and knights. Okay, from each suit, and the rest of them are the minors. Well, the courts are the minors, but they're, well, anyway. So that's how you separate them. So all the ones that have,
courts are kind of seen almost as a separate thing sometimes.
Yeah, they're not quite minor, but they're not majors. So they're the court cards, your knights, your queens, kings, and pages, and then all the rest of them are in a separate pile.
All the rest are just.
Ouch, Wanda, settle down. I'm sorry, honey. Wanda. Oh, you guys want an update? While you guys are getting your decks ready, ouch. I'll just give you an update on Wanda. She's continuing to gain weight. She is much perkier and more vocal. I know you haven't heard her yet, but she was quite vocal earlier today. And yeah, Heavenly Blessed Honey, that's not the kind of question that we're going to be able to answer today. So people who want a reading, just say join me. Okay? And sorry, the lights just all of a sudden went out. So yeah, yeah, exactly like Carl did, just say bank, like exclamation mark, join, space, me. And so hang on a sec. Yeah, she's doing really well. She's gained weight. You can see she's feeling a lot perkier than she has been, but she's still kind of a Velcro bird. So that tells me that she's not 100%. She may never regain her balance because the coronavirus attacked her central nervous system. And she will have to be on medication the rest of her life. I think I told you guys this already on Tuesday, but I'll tell you again. But she is gaining weight. She's still eating, like, I had to go and spend more money at the vet yesterday to get something called Recovery, which is a powder that I add to her oatmeal to make sure she's getting all her vitamins and supplements, because she still won't touch her pellets. You're such a naughty girl. Because she loves oatmeal and eggs, so that's all she's eating. Anyway, there you go. So we're doing. She's doing much better, and
she's happy to be with her mama.
and I have hope. Well, I didn't. I thought she was dying, because she weighed 190 grams, and she should weigh like 250. So she's regaining her weight, and she's she got the coronavirus probably at her hatching, because the breeder who hatched her had coronavirus in their flock 20 years ago. And so, and it's very common apparently for birds to have to carry the virus and have no symptoms. So there you go. So yeah, me too. I love oatmeal. That's what gets so much of it. Huh?
The virus was dormant for a long time.
Yeah, it just doesn't show any symptoms at all. And then all of a sudden you've got this bird who's, falling on her face every time she's trying. Yeah, that's right. That was you. You were bonking on your nose all the time.
No, poor baby.
Before we do this, I'm going to read the prayer of protection and open the key to the records. And if I forget to do it when we stop, or if I forget to close the records, like before I end the live stream, rest assured I will remember probably an hour or so later, and I'll do it at that point. Okay, but also
I'll try and remember too.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And Diane's not here. She left. Okay. So, yeah, I thought I set the limit.
Ooh, we're at 8 now.
Yeah, we're at 8. I know. I thought I set the limit.
Now we're
Hang on. Let me try this again. Now we have 10. Holy, okay, stop.
Oh my goodness.
What? That's the command. I know that's the command. Oh
But
my
it's-
goodness. Nightbot is going crazy. Okay, never mind. I'll just close. Okay, I'll just close. We're not really asking for thank you, Nightbot, for finally catching on. I'm just going to be doing really brief readings to go along with Jonathan's, because the show's about Jonathan, and so that's why I'm opening the records. Okay, so let's all take 3 deep breaths together. And you heard me say this before. I'm going to say it every single time. Breathe all the way down to the bottom of your belly button, in through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds and then out through your mouth. But it's really important that you fill your lungs. So let's start. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but doing that always puts me into a really different headspace.
Mm-hmm.
Really is a good way of entering. We are surrounded by the pure white light of divine source. We ask Archangel Michael to protect and guide us, and we call forth all of our angels, guides, beings of light, and Akashic Records masters to assist us now to receive information of the highest truth, highest frequency of light and love, allowing us to receive exactly what we need for our greatest good and the greatest good of humanity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We open ourselves to the light, and with this light, we open ourselves to our truth. And with this light, we open ourselves to our soul's purpose. And with this light, we open ourselves to be guided towards our highest good and the highest good of all in divine love. And so this group, consisting of the people present now, those who will watch later, are given the truth to best serve them on their healing journey into the love and acceptance that is most beneficial for them in this moment. And I'm going to read silently. And with this light and guidance, we unlock the energy field of this group to receive the records of their souls. Okay.
And so it is.
Okay, Tropical Empress in Spirit, I'm glad you were here, and we'll see you later. Well, Nightbot's efficient, but it's only as efficient as it's as the human behind the keyboard, right? So if I screw up, if it screws up, it's usually my fault. I'm not feeling overwhelmed. I'm not mobbed. Well, I'm sort of a little bit mobbed, but it's because I'm trying to manage too many things at the same time. Carl is next. Carl is first in the line, and there's his. You go ahead.
Okay.
If you're ready, or do you want me to?
Give me one moment. I'm almost there. Let me pull the last card. Okay. So, Carl, first card I pulled for you was Queen of Swords. So I see this life as being obviously a female life, possibly a widow. Um, I'm feeling like a widow that may have been widowed early in life, one that didn't have children. Because the next card was the Empress, right? That feeling of wanting that. See how she's reaching for the Empress. So it's almost like you wanted this thing that was denied you. This feeling of it's kind of hard to put into words, but this feeling of fulfillment, I guess, is the best way of putting it. And it shows up in your life now. Here we got the Seven of Pentacles, right? So because of that longing, you feel like you're always waiting for something, and you're never quite sure what it is you're waiting for. And it's that baby that you always wanted in this life that you never were able to have. So in order to have that feeling of waiting to finally pass, you must acknowledge her pain, his past self, right? Acknowledge what she went through. And then this feeling will probably finally pass once you've made amends. Not necessarily made amends, but come to terms with the lessons that life were trying to teach you with that lack of child.
So Carl, while Jonathan was reading, I was trying to tune into the life that he was describing. And this life, I believe, is in, I think it's China. You are the wife of a landowner. I'm not sure if they were aristocracy. If they were, it was very minor aristocracy. But owning land was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was feudal, right? So you owned the villages and the villagers that worked the land. As the wife, you had certain duties. This is more than 1,000 years ago. I asked for a time frame, and that's what I hear is more than 1,000 years ago. And either, of course, you can't tell without a lot of medical testing, which didn't exist in that way. But you weren't you didn't have any children, and your husband finally put you away because you were barren. Now, putting you away meant that, I guess because you came from a powerful family, he couldn't just divorce you and kick you out on the street. He had to maintain you and pay you to basically stay away and agree to a divorce. He agreed to let him take another wife so that he could have children. But that was a really shameful thing in the community. And for you, it was really shameful. It was a burden. You didn't live, you were very unhappy in that life because you weren't able to have children. And your broken heart, you just didn't live very long. I don't think you made it past 40 in that life. But you were married to him. You were living with him and as his wife for like 5 years. So who knows? what the real problem was. Was it him? Was it you? I don't know. But you were the one who bore the brunt of the shame and the, yeah. So that's what I've got for you, Carl. It's not just because when you're trying for a baby as a woman, okay, when you're trying for a baby every month, when you have your period, it breaks your heart.
Yep.
And every month you wait, and if you're a day late or 2 days late, you're like, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe this is a baby, and then when it's not, that's just another heartbreak, and it happens month after month after month. And so, yeah, Carl. Yeah.
When you were describing it, I totally saw her being exported off to some monastery on top of a mountain kind of thing. And being stuck in the garden watching all this like fertile growth when she herself didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
And it just broke her heart having to garden and seeing all this fertility even she herself.
Yeah. She was
freaked out because she couldn't even be fertile enough.
Yeah. It did break her heart. A little bit of everything. Welcome, but questions are closed now. Okay, so that means that I wasn't paying attention and I need to change the banner. I'm sorry. Questions are now closed. So, because we spent like 40 minutes just yakking, and so we're under a little bit of...
We were having a great conversation.
Yeah, it was actually. Who the hell was that husband? Well, I don't know, Carl, and I'm not going to look because, we're...
No, that part wasn't the important part. The important part was the feeling of not...
Yeah, your feeling of it.
Fertile, not having what you need in order to produce what you're trying to produce. Is that feeling?
Yeah.
And that's the feeling that's followed you through lifetimes.
Yeah. That it's not even... It's more than inadequacy. It's like... I don't have a word for it. I don't think there's a word in English. I don't think there's a word in French. At least I can't think of one. So, and I don't know enough Spanish.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Carl, do you have kids now?
Chronic stress. Yeah, Carl, do you have any kids now? Okay, Hershey. You didn't say me, Hershey. That's fine. Yeah, the chronic stress is really bad for your system, and the chronic heartache and heartbreak, and that essentially is what killed you, was just a heartbreak in that lifetime, Carl, was just a heartbreak.
Okay.
He doesn't want to have kids. Carl says he doesn't want kids. I can see why.
That could be a good reason why you don't want them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Hershey, the court card I pulled for you is Page of Cups. Obviously, this strong intuition and channeling and mediumship thing is not new to you. I feel like this lifetime, a young person that never really quite grew up, is what I'm feeling here, who always was just kind of going by instinct. But by doing so, learned that inner strength that they needed in order to give their messages, right? Feeling like this lifetime, even though they stayed young at heart, they did a lot. They did a lot to teach others how to connect. They did a lot to help steer the world to the best timeline that they could be on. And the way this is showing up in this life now is this feeling of needing to rest, right? This feeling of like you've been doing the work. This is not the first lifetime you've been doing the work. So you like to just, take a little time off. Find that inner peace. Take that time to really find your inner strength again, right? So, yeah, I feel like it's someone that had to find that inner strength because of the message that they were trying to give, which is something that you still do, right? And this is just a reminder that you don't have to keep going. You can take those moments of rest and then keep up. I'm interested to hear what you found, Linda.
Hershey, I hear Nostradamus. I don't think you were Nostradamus, but I think you were close to him. A student of his, perhaps. And that was a big awakening for you. Everything that you learned. Because don't forget, he was a doctor. A medical, in 11 or 1300 or whenever it was he lived, he was a medical person, and as well as an astrologer and a prophet. And at the time you knew him, his family had already died. He was apparently had discovered a mix of herbs that helped people survive the plague. So a whole bunch of his patients survived, but when the plague hit where he was living, but his family did not. And so he saw you as a way of carrying on his legacy. He wanted to give you his knowledge so that it didn't die, so that somebody would know these things and be able to teach and to heal the way he had been. And it's not just that lifetime, Hershey. I see like 3 or 4 others where you don't have a life. You spend your being, spend your time on earth healing and teaching and healing and teaching. And you're doing so much of it that you lose your voice for periods of time. I'm feeling myself choking a little bit. But you're driven. You're really driven. Like you don't want to do anything else. You feel deeply that this is your purpose, that this is what you were meant to do. This is why you were created. And this is just the way it's going to be. And so you drag your ass out of bed every morning and you don't eat enough and you don't sleep enough. And you're basically run yourself to skin and bones and fall in this particular lifetime where you were taught by Nostradamus. You don't die of the plague. You just, in your 40s, I guess, you've just worn yourself. You die of exhaustion, basically. I mean, I'm sure there's medical words for it, but I don't know them. But you've just worn yourself to a nub. You're underweight. You're underslept. You're under everything. You have no immediate family. You've never married. You don't have a partner. You don't have children. But you don't die alone because people love you. and the whole community looks after you on your deathbed. You don't die alone. You are loved, deeply, deeply loved and appreciated. So that's what I got for you. Oh,
Hi.
what happened? I
No,
have my.
that was me. My internet like flipped out for a second, and I had to log back in. But it's interesting what you were saying about Hershey, because the minor card, there actually ended up being 2 of the minor cards. So it was the 4 of Swords and the 6 of Pentacles, right? That whole giving so much of themselves but not taking the time to rest, right? So I think this is a good indication, Hershey, that, you know what, and when you feel like you need to rest, listen to that voice.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to do that in this lifetime, okay? You don't need to work yourself down to skin and bones and forget to eat and forget to sleep and all the rest of it. So yeah, you're very welcome, Hershey. I hope that helps. Hi, Madam Maru.
Hi.
Oh,
it's okay, Maru. That's what the replay's for, right?
Yeah,
Life
really.
is just, right? You got to find that balance too. That balance of giving and resting, because resting is also receiving.
Yes, it's a very important kind of receiving. Oh, and Jackie's here. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Okay, next person is Erin O'Nugent, and she doesn't have a question either, so we're just going to read her. Just
Well, it's all about past lives, right?
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, this is actually a really positive set of cards for Erin here. So the court card I pulled for you is the Page of Pentacles. So this life, I feel like when the page comes out for like who you were in a past life, it was someone who not necessarily died young, but stayed young at heart their whole life, right? They were able to see the world from the almost innocent point of view, so they get jaded. And this one, I feel like the Pentacles, I feel like this was like someone who was on a farm, or someone like who grew up in the forest, somewhere where it was very rural. Right? The lesson of that life, here we have the Lovers, right? So the lesson of this life is about the choices you make in that life, right? So my eye kind of jumped to the background here. We see that like mountain, right? I'm feeling like a lot of the choices you made were to try and stay on the flat land and not have to deal with climbing that mountain, so to speak. And there's more of a metaphorical mountain than an actual real mountain. I feel like it's something that like you chose the easy way, right? The comfortable comfort zone kind of lifestyle. Because you were a lover, right? You just wanted to do the things you loved, didn't want to have to struggle, didn't want to have to climb a mountain, metaphorically or literally. But I think that mindset really helps you in this life, because the card that came out for you is the 6 of Wands, right? So that idea of taking the easy road has led you to being able to figure out ways of finding your victory without having to struggle, without having to climb the mountain. And leaning into this life where you were, I don't want to say lackadaisical, but like, I feel like that version of you really didn't do anything that made him break into a sweat. And I said him. It's interesting. But it's that same mentality that you carry into this life, where that's why you're always looking for those victories. Right? You're always looking for those victories of being able to find those moments of real, like, wow, what's the word? The words are escaping me right now. Oh, she said herself, always seeking comfort. Right. So that's the thing, is like finding those moments of comfort is like small victories for you in this life, because you're so focused on comfort and the good life, and only doing the things that you love without doing anything else. That's kind of why those little moments of victory are victory moments for you. So don't. I think the thing for you here is just a reminder not to fear climbing a mountain, because that's where you get the big grand view, right? How else are you going to see the big view if you don't climb?
Aaron, at one point you were the very privileged son, probably the eldest, but there were others. And it's hard for me to tell because you're all tall young men. So I don't know who was oldest and who wasn't, but you were very, very privileged, the son of a very wealthy nobleman, I think France, but possibly England. And men are wearing knee breeches. So I'm guessing mid 18th century. So 1750, give or take 20 years. I don't know. Yeah, you're very privileged. You have whatever you want. You have your own suite of rooms, as does every child. I think there's like 4 or 5 children. Every child has their own suite of rooms once they leave the nursery, and they get you get tutors, you get governesses, you get like people looking after you never lift a finger to help yourself. And you never have to, I mean, they're servants, so why would you say please or thank you? Oh God. Mm. I'm someone who thanks the waiters, okay? The wait staff when I go to a restaurant. So not thanking someone who does something for me is like shocking to my Canadian soul. And that's how you grow up in this life of real privilege, and you don't take anything seriously because nothing really touches you deeply. Nothing really nothing really reaches your heart. There's really nothing you feel passionate about except having fun and enjoying your life, which is cool. I mean, very cool, especially if it's something you can manage to accomplish, which apparently you did.
Right.
Yeah. It's until we hit the French Revolution. By that time, your father's dead. Your mother's still alive. And your brothers, some of your family, your brothers and sisters, some of them managed to escape to England because they can see the writing on the wall. They're a little more serious than you are. They're not quite so flighty, not quite so superficial or shallow. That's the word. They're not quite so shallow. You don't have, huh?
Lackadaisical.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't believe that anything bad could ever happen to you because nothing bad ever has. Bad things happen to other people. And you don't actually believe the reports that are coming out of Paris, because you don't live in Paris. You live out in the country somewhere. You managed to escape the guillotine, but basically, by the skin of your teeth, when you finally realize what's happening, you have to scramble to get what money and jewels and so on that you can, and you stuff it all into a bag that you tie around your waist, and you take what you can, and you just abandon everything. You just abandon the palace that you lived in. Well, manor house, whatever it is, it's like a palace. Yeah, and get on your horse and just like hell bent for leather, heading for the Spanish border. You escaped to Spain. You never did marry. I think you would have been maybe 35 or 40 at this point, somewhere in there. You managed to make it to Spain, and there you have to start over again with much reduced circumstances, and you spend the rest of your life really bitter and angry that you didn't get the life you thought you deserved, that you had, and you want it back. And damn it all.
Well, that's why it's that focus on victory. Right?
Yeah. You find your life after that is. I mean, it's not a bad life, okay, because you're not sick, and you're not. Right. You don't have any disabilities.
Not what it was.
It's not what it used to be, and you don't have. Yeah.
It's time to climb the mountain, Aaron. No.
Yeah. Aaron says, that's not me this time around. Helped raise my 6 little cousins, and they know please and thank you and teamwork now. Well, there you go.
Right. Well, and I think that's also why those moments of relaxation and leisure feel
so
like
much.
This like victory in life, right?
Yeah.
Because it's that thing that's been missing. And this could have been like a few lifetimes that you've been dealing with that feeling of like not getting the victory you were expecting.
Yeah. Not getting what you want.
Right. Thank you, Aaron. I love doing this kind of stuff because it's just like
me too.
Things that come through.
I like reading anyway. Like I just like reading because it's
right.
It's fun.
Right.
It is. It's fun. Okay. So any of you who are thinking of taking Val's class, or any classes on reading the Akashic Records, please do it because this is a lot of fun. And
Aaron says feeling cheated that has popped up in this life makes sense.
Oh, okay, yeah, feeling cheated, yeah, because that was a big feeling of the latter half of that lifetime that we described. That was a big feeling, is that you felt really betrayed, that something had been taken away from you that was your right to have. And I mean, there's a certain amount of truth to that, but on the other hand, nobody's entitled to anything, you know. So next we have Leah. Hi, Leah.
Hi, Leah. So the court card I pulled for you, have the Page of Wands. So we've got someone who is young at heart, very much driven by their passions. And I just saw like this tomboy kind of girl, rough and tumble. And there's so the major life lesson for this tomboy I'm seeing is justice here, right? Feeling like life is balanced. And this Page of Wands, I feel, has got a lot of anger, partially because of all the fire that they're already filled with, but feeling like the scales of justice were tilted against them, so to speak. That justice wasn't blind per se. And it's interesting to say that because look, this justice doesn't have a blindfold on. So yeah, so I'm feeling like this person was definitely very much like feeling like the system was against them. They were going to have to do whatever they needed to do in order to win, so to speak. And for the minors here, it kind of goes with that, with like the Five of Swords. So interesting that she bit you right when I pulled out the Five of Swords. This bites you on your butt, I think, more often than not, Leah, where you're trying to do whatever you can in order to win, follow that passion, right? But that like do anything possible to win mentality has bitten you in the butt, so to speak. I keep coming back to that. It bites you in the butt thing. And I feel like it's your way of trying to reestablish balance on the scales, but all you end up doing is tilting the scales too much one way or the other, and then just the balance is off still. But there was something that caused you to be a very angry person in that life, and it comes across as this need to win at all costs. So that's what I'm seeing here.
I'm getting a rebellious girl.
Mm-hmm.
Who's you have an older brother, you have a younger brother, or maybe two. I think you might be the only girl in the family, actually, and the boys get so much more than you. This is ouch. Stop biting me. I'm going to put you down.
See, those bites again.
Oh yeah, she's just feeling herself all over, man. If I'm not doing what she wants, I get a nip on the finger. I mean, she doesn't draw blood, but stop it. It's annoying as hell and very distracting. Here's your almond. Don't play with it. I get the extreme favoritism shown to your brothers just burned. It burned. And nothing could, because it was all around. I mean, listen, no judgment here, okay? It was all around you. Everything that all the things your brothers got horses. They got this. I'm looking at it, and this isn't a very wealthy family, but like a well-off family that can afford horses. So well-to-do, owned land, but not like royalty wealthy or aristocracy wealthy. But your brothers got horses. Your brothers got to learn Latin and Greek, and you weren't supposed to. You learned how to do basic arithmetic. You learned enough to run a household, and then after that, your father didn't want to spend the money on a governess. You were just supposed to help your mother run the house. That was your job. I think you would have been 12 or 13, which is just when the hormones hit. So, big explosion. And why weren't you good enough to learn? And why weren't you? Okay, so your older brother takes pity on you and starts teaching you this stuff on the sly. When your father finds out, big problem. Because women with brains, right? Or actually, no, be more specific. Women with education, it was considered back in those days that women with an education could not be good mothers because it was going against their instincts. I shit you not. That is, I read that. That is the historical fact.
Yep.
So since your primary function was to, you know, bear the heirs of the next generation of landowning gentry, it was a real crisis that you suddenly could speak Latin and Greek and read Latin and Greek, because hypothetically nobody'd want to marry you. Yeah. It all turned out pretty well. You ended up, I mean, there was a lot of friction in the house, and some of your brothers sided with you and some of your brothers sided with your father. Hang on. Okay, get down. Good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Here you go. Have some more. But you end up marrying some kind of clergyman, very, very accepting and gentle soul, who doesn't mind that you read Greek and Latin, and you have lots of, not only does he not mind it, he thinks it's a good thing. He doesn't agree with your father. Your father doesn't have a very high opinion of him because he doesn't think he's much of a man, you know, because he's not, okay, I won't say it's too rude. He's not actively exercising dominance at every possible moment. But yeah, I can see that you were just headstrong and and so certain that you were right, and so certain of your own worth as a human being and that your own value as a human being, and you just absolutely would not tolerate the sorry. Okay, I'm out. So there you are, Leah. And she says, I am headstrong, passionate, worked in the trades, and have a brain. And Moira says, women with education, we are dangerous. Well, yeah, we are. And she also says, hang on a second, this is interesting. I just saw this comment. Leah says, she's learned to appreciate the injustices. They've made me face what is right here, right now. Okay. Even in this life, there's been favor and loss through heritage. Yes.
It's a lesson that's repeating itself.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad only taught me two things in this life. I was starving for learning. Yeah, you were starving for learning in that lifetime too. Because yeah. But your husband appreciated you, and you had a very, very happy life with him. A very happy life, which was a great relief to your parents, because they thought they'd be stuck with you as a spinster forever. Oh, sorry. Okay, next is Sonia. Hi, Sonia. Heavenly Blessed Honey. Okay.
Okay. So Sonia, the card I pulled for you is Queen of Cups. I'm feeling like this life for you was one where you were the nurturer of your tribe, your family. I feel like it's more than just a family, but not quite so big as a tribe, like a small clan, so to speak. And you were the one that everyone came to. You were the one that seemed to always have the answers for emotional issues. You were the one that whose intuition was the strongest. You were the one that just seemed to be connected to the spirits. I feel like almost like you were the mother figure to everyone, as far as like a spiritual mother figure. Not so much like the nurture type that's feeding people, but more like people came to you when they were having emotional upset, emotional imbalance, especially between others, right? I feel like you were one who really helped facilitate conversation between people. part of seeing all the ways that people had these issues also kind of, I think, in a way, took away that foolish energy, made it so that you always had to look before you leaped, because you were always witnessing all the bad stuff that was happening to everyone else, instead of just being able to take that leap of faith, right? And the final card kind of goes along with that. Here we have the 8 of Swords, right? So now in this lifetime, that same idea of feeling like you couldn't just take that leap, you had to like look before you left, has left you trapped in your own thoughts, left you trapped in the whole like, where do I go from here idea, right? Because you stopped listening to that inner heart, that inner flow, and you let the swords, those judgmental thoughts that tell you you're not good enough, right? That kind of took over, and that's why it was so hard to take those leaps of faith. So part of your lesson in this lifetime is learning to realize that in a lot of ways you bind yourself, and it's time to take the blindfold off, right? You have all the tools you need to escape this inner turmoil, especially if you start looking at your cups again, right? Take that blindfold off, open that cup, and start scrying for your happiness again.
We still have 5 people in the list, Jonathan. Are you okay for time?
I'm okay for now, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Heavenly Blessed Honey, I see you in a convent or a monastery, an abbey, actually, not a convent as such, with as the abbess of an abbey. Okay, so I'm looking around. I see wooden wheels, like solid wood. I'm guessing 12th or 13th century, and so you're responsible. At the time I'm seeing you, you're in your 40s. You've been a nun your whole life. Your parents brought you to the convent when you were like 8 or 9. And you come from a humble background, like your parents were farmers, but not of their own land. So you were an extra mouth to feed. So they brought you to the convent or to that abbey monastery. They did teach, although not much. You mostly spent your life in work and prayer, which is to be expected, but you had some special skills with people. As the head of this abbey, well, okay, so when people in the village, in the surrounding villages, when they needed medical help or they needed any kind of assistance, the first place they would come is the abbey. That was sort of the tradition in that area. It wasn't like that everywhere, but in that particular area with that particular religious group, I don't recognize them. I don't know who they are, like whether they're, Cistercians or Benedictines. Oh, I suspect they're Benedictines, actually. They were really highly esteemed for the amount of assistance they gave the people around them. Medical care, nursing care, taking care of people with leprosy, making sure that, because there were leper colonies all over the place, apparently. And that was basically your job, and you were really good at it, and people came to you. And you were very busy with all that kind of stuff. Which kind of, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at it. I know I'm looking at it like it's a movie happening in front of me. So I'm not really feeling the emotions, but you seem to be doing really well. Like you're not angry, you're not upset. You get tired and you get frustrated, but you're actually quite content in this life that I'm looking at. Because you're not hungry, you're not sick, and you can see what's happening in the farm villages and in the farms and villages around you. So you know you have a relatively speaking better life than most of the people there. You stay the abbess for a long time. I think you die in that position at some point in your 60s, and I think your heart gives out because it's a sudden death. You're not like lingering sick for a long time. Stop fighting. That's what I got for you, Sonia.
Like I said, I was seeing it like it was almost like a family or village or something, but none of that was quite right. And now that you said abbess, I was like, oh, of course.
There's a bunch of nuns.
Yeah, she was the head of the nuns, right?
Oh, thanks, Rossi. Yes, please.
Oh, hey, Gerald.
Hi, Gerald. Hi, Gerald. Please subscribe to Jonathan's channel. He does have a channel, and Rossi just posted it.
Thank you, Rossi.
And yeah, please do. This is fun. I'm enjoying this.
This has been a lot of fun. Yeah. This is one of my things that I just like. I could talk about past life stuff for some lifetimes if you want.
Well, and this isn't your first go around, is it, doing this?
No.
No, I know. Hang on a second here. We'll wait for what's the matter? We'll wait for Nightbot to okay, next we have Tanya Hikes. Hi, Cat. I didn't see you here because half the time I got my eyes closed, so I don't know who the hell here and who isn't.
Right.
It just makes it easier to see because I see things. I mean, I see what's happening, and when there's
you're closing these, so you can open this one.
Well, kind of. It's like my eyelids are the screen because if I have them open, I have tried to do this with my eyes open, and I don't see clearly because of the computer screen. I can't see it. Yeah, it's like two things. Yeah, one thing is in front of the other, and so yeah, that's why my eyes are closed because I can see it clearly.
I close my eyes too sometimes when I'm channeling or getting info. Surprisingly, I grabbed the Queen of Cups again, even though I was shuffling.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Right.
Okay,
so
Tanya.
In this case, I'm feeling almost like a nurse in the trenches of World War I, or just this image I just got really fast, especially because the next card is death. So I'm feeling like you helped many pass over, right? You were the one there who was almost like the
huge chills.
Doula. You're like the death doula of the trenches. Oh god, that just gave me chills too.
I got huge chills.
Right? I'm still feeling them. Like I'm in tropical weather and I'm getting goosebumps here. You helped so many pass over. Right? But at the same time, I feel like was too much. It oversaturated you, and it to the point where you almost feel stuck. Is what I'm getting to. Like once the war had passed, you didn't know what to do with yourself. And the final card here, so the minor card that we got, is the Seven of Swords. So normally this is like the Thief card, but that's not how I'm seeing it here. This is more like you took what you learned in the trenches and brought it into mundane life, right? You brought a new way of thinking. You brought this whole idea of like, almost like this was the creation of hospice care, is what I want to say. I don't know if that, I mean, that doesn't seem quite right, but that's what you became an advocate for. This idea that no one should die by themselves. And now in this life, I'm feeling like this lesson is for you specifically to start thinking outside the box. Don't always take things at face value. Look beyond. Right? So I feel like that lesson is continuing, where you are still the one who's supposed to be there to help guide you. So.
Yeah, I can confirm that, absolutely confirm that lifetime nursing in as a medic, not nursing. This was a man, a medic on the battlefields. Ypres is the word that is dropped into my mind. And you're basically, you and whoever, you and this other medic, you run onto in the middle of the battle, you crawl and squirm and crouch and run with a stretcher to try to evacuate the wounded. And you get really good at knowing if somebody's even, because they got to make it to be behind the lines, right? And it could be 100 yards. It could be 500 yards. You get really good at knowing. Oh, this is so dark. You get really good at knowing who's going to make it and who's not. Which of the wounded is going to survive the mad dash to the tents and the ambulances. And the ones that you think aren't, you basically just hold their hands, and you have a notebook and you're writing in your notebook what if they have any last words and what they want to say, or if they have any messages for anybody, and who they are, and the date and the time, if you can figure it out, and you write all of that down, and you give that to the officer, who has to, because the commanding officer has to write the letter to the families, right, and say your son, husband, father was killed in action at whatever. And in those days, they took the time to make them, like not just form letters, although they kind of were, but if they had any anecdotes or anything they knew about the person, they would include that in the letter. And this is what you would give the officer, so that he could write a letter and say, geez. So the war ends. You've been wounded a couple of times, but it's mostly just like flesh wounds, as they say. There's no, um, you're not disabled in any way. Although I think it kind of aches when it rains. I think you kind of have aches in your legs when it rains. The war ends and you're like completely empty. You're just empty. So you do a lot of drinking. It's certainly a way to cope. And the nightmares. And your thought through all of this, it's sort of like a guiding star through all of this, is that they didn't die alone. I was there. I witnessed their passing from the earth. I got big chills again. I was there to witness and record whatever they had to say. And so after the war, one of the doctors that knew you from before, you run into him accidentally. You're British, by the way. You run into him accidentally on the street, and he wants to know how you're doing and what you're doing. And he's working in a hospital. I'm not sure if he's running it or not, but he's working in a hospital with, men who are the veterans who are disabled and still healing. Some of them from what we would call PTSD. And he offers you a job. And you don't have anything else to do. This is like about 6 months after the war. You pretty much run out of money, and you're completely, like I said, you feel completely numb and empty and just like a statue. You feel like a statue, like there's nothing real inside of you because you're just not feeling anything anymore. And as you work with these veterans, as you work with these wounded soldiers, you're healing yourself at the same time. And after about 5 years, you start realizing that there are other people. It's not just soldiers who need somebody there when they die, It's not just soldiers who are dying alone. Yeah. And that becomes your life mission. But by that point, you're like in your 40s, I think. Late 30s, maybe.
I was saying almost older, like 50s.
Yeah?
40s, 50s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing life.
Yeah, it's an amazing life, and it's amazing that you were using alcohol as insulation, more or less. And what's amazing to me is that as you worked with these men, you needed it less and less, and you drank less and less, and you started to feel again. It's actually really deeply moving for me to witness that kind of it's deeply moving for me to see that you managed to heal yourself to that extent where you were able to feel again. Because I'll tell you, coming out of that war, you were completely numb. You were a statue. It was something that you said to your friends, I just feel like a statue, like nothing, whatever. I don't feel anything. But, 10, 15 years later, you're sober, I don't see you marrying, though. I don't see you ever connecting with another person on that level,
right.
on an intimate level. You have lots of cordial relationships with people, with your family, for example, but you don't have any intimate relationships at all in that lifetime. But wow,
everything. Yep.
What a hero! What a heroine, Tanya, just for surviving that and not blowing your brains out, really, because that was enough trauma for. Yeah, found a purpose again, and
The work was everything for him.
Huh?
The work was everything for him at that point.
Yeah, the work was everything. There was no need for family or for anything like that. That was an amazing lifetime. Amazing lifetime. Thank you so much for that, Tanya. Really, really deeply appreciate it. And I haven't seen you here before, so welcome. I was a little late with that, but anyway.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah, found
chills.
Yeah, big chills. Marianne Harris is next. Okay, Marianne, I hope you're still here, but if you're not, you're just going to have to watch the replay. And yes, T-Lynn, it absolutely was PTSD. They used to call it shell shock. They used to call it all kinds of stuff. War fatigue was one, and I forget what there was a whole bunch of stuff that we now recognize as all being PTSD. And yeah. Absolutely, it was PTSD.
Marianne Harris. So let's see. First card I pulled for you is the Page of Wands.
Oh, hello. We've seen him before.
Right. But this time I'm seeing this as a young man who is led by his passions. To the point where he builds towards his passions and it kind of always seems to fall apart because his karmic lesson is the Tower, right? So I feel like he kept trying to build a life and having it just crumble in front of him. Build a life and then have it just crumble in front of him. But part of it is because he was so focused on just like fulfilling his own desire. He wasn't building for anyone else. He was only building for himself. And I notice when people do that, that's when they tend to have more tower moments. If you build for the collective, you're less likely to have a tower moment, right? And this seems to manifest in your life. Here we have the Eight of Wands. So it's almost like your passions almost carry you away with them. And it's like you get torn in so many different directions all at once that everything ends up falling apart because you don't know what thing to focus on. You're like torn in 8 different directions, right? 8 different passions pulling you. And it happens rapidly, I feel like, where these like passions kind of like flare and these like huge bonfires that burn themselves out too quickly. So I'm hearing that in order to stop this like most overwhelming bombardment is to come back to the starting point, right? Find the single passion that feels like it's the one. I mean, I understand when you feel like there's too many passions and you want to do all of them, but you don't know which one to do. Just pick one to focus on. Okay, focus on just that single thing. Let those other ones percolate in the background, but focus on that one until it's done, so you don't end up causing this crash. And I feel like this is a pattern that seems to repeat itself with you. You get like really gung ho about a certain project, and then you get distracted by another project, and so the first project just kind of falls apart as the third project then takes your attention. That's what I got for you.
I'm hearing severe ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing that. this was a life sometime in the 19th century, because I see industry, I see motor things that like steam, you know, and I honestly can't tell it this way. It'll come clearer later, maybe. I can't tell if it's North America or Europe, but there's so much that you want to know and so much that you want to learn, and everything is so interesting to you, and you go from thing to thing to thing like a butterfly in the flowers, you know. You go, oh, look at this shiny thing, I got to look at that and learn all about it and figure out how it works and all the rest of it, and then you drop it and go on to the next. Once you think you've gotten everything you can get from it, then you drop it and go on to the next shiny thing. And that's okay when you're like 10 or 15, but not so much when you're 30. And so you know a whole lot of stuff about a whole lot of different things, but there's nothing that you can actually do for a living and stick with it, and build something. You just can't. It is beyond your capacity to do that. You just don't have the brain for it. Your brain just won't let you. And nobody is around you. Nobody around you can give you the tools that you need to learn how to focus. People are just really impatient with you, and very, very judgy, and very very prone to scolding and criticizing, rather than looking at it and realizing that it's a problem of focus and giving you tools to help you do that. So it's a very kind of, you have a lot of friends, but they're not like friends, right? They're not. They mostly hang out with you because of the entertainment value you provide. Let me put it very bluntly, because it's kind of fun watching you, for them. And but they're not your friends, and they certainly would happily throw you under the bus at a moment's notice, and they sure won't be there if you need them. And on some level, you know that, because you never ask for help, because there's just too much going on in your head anyway. So I'm seeing you about 30. And your parents are making noises that it's time you got married, but you don't want to, because you know that you can't provide for a family. You know that that any family you have will be very precarious financially, because you can't keep a job for more than 6 months or a year. I think a year is your record. And you get bored and you start making mistakes, and then you get let go. And you're always on the hunt. That maybe this will work. Maybe that'll work. Maybe I'd make a good this, or I'd make a good that, or I'd make a good cobbler, or I'd make, you're always looking for what you think you'd be good at. But there's a problem, because you're pretty bright and you're good at a lot of different things. So, but nothing that you can stay at for more than a few months or a year, because your mind is just all over the place. So yeah, I don't know if that resonates at all. And Marianne says she has no friends at all. She's always overthinking. Okay, so let me tell you that as I have just discovered, overthinking, which I also do, and I also have ADHD, so I know exactly, or ADD, I know exactly what that feels like, to have so much going on in your head and you can't get it out of your mouth, and right. Oh man, that looks like so much fun, I'm going to do that. And so you wouldn't believe all the stuff that I've learned how to do over my life, because it looked like fun. And it was a
That's
lot
me
of
too.
fun. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah, very scattered. So, hi, Millie. Yeah, very scattered. And that's the ADD. Anyway, I don't think souls can have ADD. I think it's a brain thing, but that's just my opinion. And my opinion is what you paid for it, which is worth, you know. Now, overthinking is a trauma response to harsh criticism in childhood. So that's something for you to consider. There's stuff about it online. You can Google that. There's, I believe, a few articles in Psychology Today and stuff like that about overthinking and how to get over overthinking. But yeah, it was a lonely life because even though you were actually quite brilliant, you never, if you had had the kind of family that could have sent you to university, for example, you could have really done very well in that kind of environment. But that's not the kind of family you came from. So you just had to sort of hunt around and look for interesting things on your own. And you did want to learn very badly. But like I said, you might have done pretty well in like a university, but in the situation you were in, you basically just spent your life going from job to job to job and never really
settling,
never finding a partner. Well, you decided you didn't want a partner because you knew that you wouldn't be able to fulfill their needs or their expectations or whatever you want to call it. You wouldn't be able to support them, first of all. Yeah, pretty lonely, kind of sad life. Yeah. I'm sorry, Marianne.
I feel like that same kind of pattern is repeating. And it's a good reminder to be able to just focus.
Reach out.
Right. Reach out to those around you. But also, as Rossi's saying, like set your intention, be in flow.
Rossi, that's really excellent.
No.
Really excellent. Set your intention, know what you want, and be in the flow of the universe. That is good for all of us, actually. But for you, Marianne, I think it has a very special kind of, a very specific kind of meaning.
Yeah, Marianne says black sheep of the family, even now.
Yeah. I mean, you can embrace that and use it as a stepping stone to healing.
Yeah. Black sheep of the family are really good at healing ancestral wounds.
I wonder if have any of you? Okay, so I do a lot of knitting and yarn or fabric work, textile work. Have you ever looked at what yarn from a black sheep actually looks like? It's beautiful. It's iridescent. It is. It's many colors. It flashes many colors. Because I've held a hunk of yarn from a black sheep. I mean, it was always, it was washed and everything. It didn't just come off the sheep, okay? It was washed and carded and spun and all of that. It was actually yarn. It wasn't just fleece. It is the most amazingly beautiful thing you can imagine. It is not just dead black. It's freaking gorgeous. So, yeah, black sheep is not a bad thing. Black sheep can be the people who break the generational trauma and the generational crap, that we all carry. And I'm not talking about past life generational stuff. I'm talking about generational stuff like alcoholism and abuse and so on and so forth. It's that's right. It isn't really black. It isn't really what we think of as black. It's gorgeous. So maybe think about that, Marianne, and see if you can find some inspiration for your own growth and your own healing in knowing that, first of all, you can be a trailblazer and a healer for your family in your role as black sheep. Okay, shut up, Linda, and let's go on to the next person. I think we've got 3 left. Are you okay? Are you still okay, John?
Okay, still. Okay.
I'm having way too much fun.
This has been a blast. I love how you're filling in the blanks for me a lot of the times too.
Well, I'm really enjoying how this is working out, because I'm just trying to tune into what you're tuning in, and apparently it's working both ways, which is like it's supposed to be. So like I'm feeling really in the flow.
Oh,
so next we have Nancy. Hi, Nancy. Crohn's intuition. All right. Gina thinks I'm funny. Bless you, Gina. Will you marry me? Oh my God, I love it when people laugh at my jokes. Oh, yeah, that's a lot for you to chew on, Marianne. I know it was a pretty heavy pretty heavy information, you know.
Right. Not stuff. This is going to bring healing that just it doesn't come from anywhere else.
Yeah. We're not doing unicorn farts and rainbows here, right?
Right. If you don't take the time to look at the darker side, how do you ever know what is the light side? Because
where does healing come from? What is healing for?
Embracing your darkness.
It's just, exactly. So Nancy, all right, go ahead.
So I was getting pulled into this picture for some reason. So I pulled the Page of Pentacles, which is another one we've seen before.
You've seen him before
but
too.
I was getting sucked into the background here, where you see there's a copse of trees on one side and a little blue mountain on the other, right? And I'm hearing this as this life for you, Nancy, was one where, even though this little copse of trees is small, it's almost like you were never able to get to that mountaintop. You just kept going in circles in the trees. Can't see the forest for the trees, so to speak. Where did that come from? That's not something I should say. But I'm feeling like this life, you just kept doing this thing where you're never quite reaching what you were looking for. But then finally, you were able to get out of those trees. You were finally able to find that trail to the top of the mountain, right? And you felt like you were at the top of the world, so to speak. You got the world card. You felt like you finally had closure. You finally completed a cycle. And so this life, I feel like it's not that long ago, either the last life or the life before that, was really a way of helping you move from this focus on the physical, the material, and really learn to wield that sort of truth, right? We got the Ace of Swords, and it's really been you have finished this cycle of being very earthly, and now you're starting this cycle of being more intellectual, more communicating your thoughts to others, being able to communicate your feelings of what spirit is saying to you, right? I feel like this completion allowed you to reach into that cloud and channel, right? I feel like this is you being an open channel, that crown of knowledge sitting on top of your head. So I feel like that life, it was a completion. There was nothing left in that life. Everything was completed, and because you were doing that in this life, you're able to really start from scratch, start something new. I need to hear what Linda has to say.
So Nancy, I got snippets of a couple of lives for you, and I'm not sure I'm not sure which to present.
There was several, right? And
Yeah.
so we're all like a lesson.
All around the same kind of theme. So this is something you've been exploring. Your soul has been learning about for some time now. But the most recent one would be, I'm getting early, like 1900s. Okay. You have somehow ended up caretaker for your parents. Your brothers and sisters are all married. They all got, I mean, your family wasn't wealthy, but they were comfortable. Your father was some kind of tradesman or something, made a decent living, was able to, you guys never went hungry. You had a comfortable house to live in. There are 3 or 4 younger siblings, younger and older. You're not the middle child, but you're in the middle. You're not the oldest, you're not the youngest. But somehow you've been elected by everybody to be your parents' caretaker. So everybody's left the home. You've had you had someone interested in marrying you, but your father refused to give his permission, and you didn't have I think you were maybe like 18 or 19 at the time. And I don't know if they were, I don't know. This is England. I don't know if you could marry before 21. I'm not sure about that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but you weren't able to go against his word and just say, yeah, to hell with it. I'm gone. Goodbye. You stayed and you looked after them. And then the next I see you is you're 30-ish, and your mother and father have now both died. And that wasn't easy. And your brothers and sisters were absolutely no help at all. In fact, actively worked against you. And youth, the deal was supposed to be that you'd inherit the house. And this is what you had believed and what you had been told. It wasn't just like in the air, and this was an assumption you made. You were told that you would inherit the house because they knew you gave up a husband and family to look after them. And so you would have nobody looking after you, and you would have nowhere to live and no skills to earn a living. And so what were you going to do? So they said, we'll leave you the house. Well, they didn't. And huge betrayal. And the sisters and brothers just said, well, we'll just sell it and split the money, and we're all fine with that. And sure they were, because they all had their own households. But meanwhile, you have some money, but not enough to buy your own place, and certainly not enough to keep you for the rest of your life. So you don't know what you're going to do. So off you go. You don't speak to your brothers and sisters again, by the way, for the rest of your life, which is probably a good thing. And you're very hurt and angry, but mostly hurt because your parents betrayed you that was really vile, really evil. But you have a little bit of money, and so you decide to go to Italy. And you go and see all this art and all these things that you never had any idea existed, but you went on a whim, basically. And I see you traveling by train. So this is before World War I. or maybe just after. Because women aren't wearing those long Edwardian dresses anymore. Like dresses are more slender. They're still below the knee, but they're above the ankle. And you know, going to Italy really changes your outlook. You get a real sense of beyond that you've never had before. A sense of more, a sense of this isn't all life is. There's more, and there's beauty, and there's art, and there's music, and there's joy, and there's good food, which I guess coming from Britain at that time, that would have been a revelation. The you come back from Italy, your friends all say, well, you're so different, Margaret. Why did Margaret drop into? You're so different, Margaret. And you're very different. You're more confident and more relaxed, and you have a much clearer idea of who you are and what you want out of life. And so you decide to learn how to paint. You rent a little cottage somewhere in the countryside and start fooling around with watercolors. And then you come back into town and decide to take classes. And you start selling your watercolors. So by the time you're 50-ish, you're very comfortable. You still don't own a place. I see that you're still renting. You're still renting that little cottage, but nobody wants you to leave. As far as the owner is concerned, you can stay there forever. And you spend the rest of your life painting and writing. And some of your siblings reach out to try to talk to you because now you're a published writer. You just write little poems, nice little poems. I mean, I don't mean that in a demeaning way. They're lovely. You write poetry and it's published, and now your siblings, yeah, cool lifetime.
That whole interaction with the family, getting trapped in there and then finally freeing herself, that really went along perfectly with that whole thing I kept seeing of being trapped in the woods being the family, right?
Yeah.
Getting trapped, going in circles.
Going to Italy. It was going to Italy that broke it. That broke that whole
finally
thing.
Got her up to that mountaintop so she could actually see the big picture.
Yeah. Very cool, Nancy. Very cool.
It's amazing.
But they were cut right off. You never had anything to do with any of them ever again.
Yeah, I never saw you go back to the woods in the image.
No,
so.
No, because that was
on the mountain. You stayed on the mountaintop.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Once you got there, you did not go back at all. But you were like 30, maybe 35 before all of that came tumbling down. What a...
Nancy says, this is so fascinating to me and makes perfect sense.
Does it? Oh, good. Oh, good. An ancient life in Italy. Yes, I love Italy. Whoa. Sorry, Jonathan. That's usually something. Hi. That's usually something I do to Gerald. Okay, we are going to do next. I think we have two more, and we're at 2 hours, and yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I know. on for a second. I think we have two more. And if we don't, I just made an edict and we do have two more. And it's Pierrette. And hold on for a second here. I'm just going to find out how many more we have.
Right.
Pierrette.
Pierrette is here.
Yeah. Yes, we are going to do a healing after the, or I am anyway. I'm going to do a very simple healing prayer. Oh, you're welcome, Nancy. It was fun. It made me mad to see how badly you were. Hi, Gina. And you are still here. Yeah.
Yeah. Gina's
okay.
Next.
So we have Pierrette and Gina, and then we'll do the healing and close the records and say goodbye. And it'll be 2.5 hours. And that still doesn't beat my record. Oh, man. I'm sorry, Jonathan. But these take time. And
you can't rush these things.
Yeah.
I get it.
I'm sorry. I appreciate your patience, everyone. I appreciate that so many people are still here.
So, Pierrette, we start with the King of Swords for you. So I'm seeing this very masculine person who's very intellectual, likes to have a plan before they do anything, very much wants to be the one in charge because no one else does it quite right. And I feel almost like this headstrong personality causes quite a bit of issues in this life, right? The Wheel of Fortune here is the lesson, right? So it's almost like anytime that something good was happening, you took all the credit, and anytime anything bad was happening, you rail against the universe as being like a horrible place, and why can't things just be the way they're supposed to be, the way I expect them to be, right? But I think this lesson is something that you did learn in this life, right? This, because you were able to intellectualize it, but because it shows up in your life here, Four of Wands, right? So I think it is, you are able to celebrate those moments of good fortune, right? And then just write out the bad stuff, because you've had this life where, like I said, you took credit for all the good things and like refused to take credit for anything bad that happened. So that lesson lives on, and it allows you to celebrate your victories, because you know it's not just you. Some part of it is just the way the wheel turns, the way the Wheel of Fortune falls into place. Thank you, Pierrette.
Pierrette, I see a big man who runs a company, a manufacturing company of some sort. And he's big, like, not big muscular, but he's got a big belly, and he wears like really nice suits. And he's a smart guy, okay? Like, don't get me wrong. He's a smart guy, but he is not a pleasant person to be around. He's not a pleasant person to work for. He's very harsh in his judgments, and his judgments are instant. And if he thinks you're slacking off, bam. He even if there's like perfectly valid reason, like the machine you're supposed to be running isn't working, so you're standing there until somebody can finish it. Man, you're at risk of losing your job because he saw you standing there waiting for the mechanic to finish the repairs. Harsh, unforgiving, very judgy, and very quick to jump to the wrong conclusions. Well, jump to conclusions, whether they're right or wrong. He doesn't much care. And lucky you, you're married to him. No, I'm just kidding. no, this is who you are. And or maybe not. Just wait. Just let me. No, I don't think that's who you were. I think that that's who you were you were married to. I don't think that was you. Um, but on the other hand, okay, so let me just tell you about the life that I think it was you actually. So you come into your workplace, and there are problems with your suppliers for which you berate some poor clerk, although it's not their fault. Um, and I'm getting this is the United States, somewhere north, northeast. I can see the ocean, so yeah, eastern seaboard north. Um, no, I was wrong. You are married to him, and I'm seeing his life as it affects you. Okay, fine. So he comes home, and the same thing applies. Everything must be exactly the way that he ordered it. If his slippers and pipe, for example, are not in precisely the right spots, he has a temper tantrum. You have 2 children, and you really try very hard to keep them out of his view, because nothing they ever do ever satisfies him, and you know how damaging that is to a child. At the time I'm seeing them, they're like maybe 4, 5, 6, something like that. The eldest one has not yet started school, but will be starting school shortly. So they're very young and very impressionable. And you try to manage the interactions with their fathers so that there's no fallout for them. There's no negative fallout for them. And you try to educate him that children are children and this and that, and they're going to make noise, and there's going to be, and so on. But yeah, no, he's very much convinced of his own rectitude in all things. He's always right. Uh, until there's a fire in his factory that destroys it. Now, you didn't grow up wealthy. In this lifetime, you grew up not even, not poor, but not well off either. I mean, your parents are simple and honest working people. They know you need an education, so all their kids get as much education as they can afford to provide. The girls as much as the boys. The boys don't get necessarily preferential treatment. Everybody's working in the house. They're very happy that you married this guy because they think, oh, good, she'll never have to want for anything in her life. You don't see them very often because your husband doesn't think much of them. So you go out during the day to visit your mother. At least once a week, you go visit your mom with the kids. And it's an open secret. Nobody talks about it, but everybody knows. So after this fire, your husband doesn't know what to do. I mean, he just doesn't know what to do. He's completely lost. It's like Marianne coming back from the war and going, oh my God, what am I going to do? And feeling empty and completely, yeah. So of course he starts to drink and he starts to become mean and you end up taking your children and going back to your parents. So he lives alone in this big house. He manages to keep the house. I mean, he does still have money. He manages to keep the house. He doesn't have enough to rebuild his factory, although he might in the future. He's trying to get funding. He's trying to get investors to help him rebuild the factory. Because, of course, it was underinsured. People died in that fire. And it was preventable. Well, they always are. But, yeah. So now he's living alone in that big house. He's trying to get funding to rebuild his factory. He thinks he's fine without you and doesn't speak well of you or your parents. Of course, you can't get a divorce. And you have to present. He doesn't want to be bothered with the children. And he doesn't want to have to pay for a nanny to look after them. So he's fine with having you have custody of them, because in those days, I guess, the father just retained custody of the children, but he doesn't want them. Well, because he doesn't want to have to pay somebody to look after them. He figures you may as well look after them and it won't cost him anything. But he does have to give you money. I mean, he does give you money. Yeah, he's a real jerk. But he's also a scared little boy. It's hard to reach that part of him to be able to speak to the genuine person that he is, like to the real person that he is. I don't know. You never reconcile because he's too proud to say he's sorry, and because you're too concerned about your children's safety and your own. Yeah, you spend the rest of you live with your parents and look after them. You look after your kids. They get up, get married, move on. Don't have anything to do with their father. Because you don't know this, but they overheard a lot of stuff while they were growing up that you're completely unaware of. And he's beginning to realize that maybe he screwed up 20 years later. He's beginning to realize that maybe this wasn't the right way to go about things, and he doesn't know how to make it better. Whoa, okay.
I almost feel like that life was so wrapped up in his life.
Yeah, he didn't have a life.
I couldn't read anything other than him. Is because
I couldn't read.
Not have her own life.
Yeah. Yeah, you did not have your own life there, Kiera. You had his life, and everything in your life revolved around him and making sure his needs were met and making sure he had what he needed and wanted and that things were exactly right. Up until after the factory burnt down and he got really crazy, and then you left.
It also kind of opens this up for me as far as like how it's represented in this life. is this whole idea that like you weren't allowed to celebrate little victories, right? Because it was always his victory, it had nothing to do with you. And so now in this life, every time you get a chance to celebrate your victories, or your like, you know, good times, so to speak, then you feel like you're actually like getting a little of yourself back. That's how I feel. Yeah. So it's that's why this is there, right? Because it wasn't your own destiny. You were caught up in someone else's.
Yeah.
And now you're finally able to really embrace who you are in this life and celebrate those little things that you weren't allowed to celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay. Thanks.
Last one.
That was fun. This is the last reading, and it's Gina, and I'm only putting next up so that I can put up the original. I'm only typing in next so I can put up the original comment from Gina. I don't know why. I'm going to have some words with Nightbot. Oh, isn't that interesting? Here, whoops.
20 years, the parents.
Hang on.
For the ex,
yeah, I want to put that up.
Wow.
It's what this
repeat.
time.
There we go. That's what I've been talking about. These patterns repeat. Something that happened in a past life repeats in this life because you still haven't learned the lesson. Now it's time, right?
Yeah, now it is time. Climb that mountain that we saw earlier. Yes, Gina, it is. Well, somebody's having fun on a motorcycle on this sunny day in Vancouver. Well, not quite Vancouver.
Actually a little cloudy here, but the sun's out, or it comes and goes. Gina, the court card that came out for you is the King of Pentacles, right? This is someone, even though it's a king, I'm feeling like this is definitely a feminine energy. This was a woman who liked having all her ducks in a row. She liked having a house full of friends. She liked cooking giant meals for a big family. And she really just thrived in that kind of environment, right? The thing is, she was so busy pouring into other people's cups that she forgot her own balance, right? She was pouring too much, giving too much, always doing for others, right? And I feel like that imbalance, that lack of balance is really what kind of threw this life off its destiny, I want to say. I mean, it's not necessarily that you didn't get your destiny, but I feel like there was something that wasn't quite what it was supposed to be, just because you yourself was imbalanced because of all that giving and giving and giving, to the point where even now, here we've got the 9 of Wands, right? So it's like constantly feeling put upon because of the fact that you don't find that inner balance because you're so busy giving. And then you're like reach your wit's end and you just like, it's so hard to keep going, but then you keep going anyway. So I feel like in this life, the lesson that you need to learn is your back isn't always up against a wall, right? Sometimes it feels like that, when in reality, it's just because you've been given too much. And it's time to put down the wand, right? You don't need to protect yourself all the time. And that it's know when it's time to fight and know when it's time to walk away. And that is the thing that you didn't learn in this life, because you're always giving to the point where there was nothing left to give. So I hope that was helpful, Gina.
Gina, you sweet woman. I like looking at old historical photos, and the photo that I'm seeing in my head now is an traditional Irish cottage from the 19th century. So like it's a traditional sort of 3-room cottage. And they're all over the Irish countryside. They're white and they have red doors, and usually the windows are painted red too. And they're a lot of them are abandoned now, of course, because they don't have foundations or basements or anything, and they're very damp and very cold. I see a family, so father and the mother and like 10 kids. I'm not counting them. I don't know if there's actually 10 or if it's only 8 or if it's actually 12. I don't know. I'm not counting them. I just see this whole row of kids and a baby in the woman's arms. And that woman's you. And you have a couple of tiny fields. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Europe, but the size of the fields is like for a girl who was raised on the prairies, where most people have at least a quarter section of land, so a quarter mile square of land, 160 acres. 5 acres is a big farm. And nobody has 80 acres. That's a freaking estate, okay? So it's a tiny fields, and you're struggling to survive. And these aren't all the kids you had, because you had some that died, and you had a couple of miscarriages. And you can see in the kids, in the stepping sort of the stair steps of the children, there's a couple of gaps. At this point that I'm seeing you are. It's probably the 1890s, 1880s, 1890s, something like that. This is long after the famine. And life is really, really, really hard. And none of your life is for you. All of your life is about making sure the children are fed and the children are dressed and they go to school and everybody goes to church on Sunday morning. There's no question about that. And but it's a really, really hard life. It's only rare. Well, occasionally there's not enough to eat, and you just make do as best you can. There is a lot of oatmeal and bread. There's meat on Sundays, probably, maybe, mostly. That's a tough life. And you spend all your time looking after, making do, making sure that everybody's got what they need. And the older kids help on the farm. There's a cow for milk. There's chickens for eggs. Every year there's a couple of pigs to be fattened up. And you make a go of it. You all only wear shoes to go to church. The rest of the time you all are barefoot. Even in the winter. The kids are 3 and 4 to a bed in the house. but they're happy. And they're pretty healthy, barring things like, diphtheria or measles or stuff like that. Because, of course, there's no vaccinations for that in 1880, except for smallpox. Yeah. That's your life.
No.
It gets a little bit easier as you're older and the kids move away and move out and so on, and they send money back and help. There's one or two of them that go to the United States, and they send money back, and that helps a lot. And so as you get older, your life gets easier and more comfortable and less precarious. You get some of what you get some back. But yeah, you die by the I don't think you hit your 60th birthday. I don't think you see your 60th birthday. But after 14 kids, yeah. Yeah, that's what I see for you, Gina. Yeah.
Definitely a hard life. But
that was mostly Rossi, just a baby machine. There was no birth control, and there was no way to stop babies without a lot of risk. And certainly in Ireland at the time, you didn't want to stop babies.
Right. Most of them didn't even survive.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm surprised she had so many, because that means most of them did survive.
Right. Well, that's why the court card for her was the King of Pentacles.
Yeah. She just made sure that everybody survived as best she could. There's of the children that you had, Gina, I think that 2, possibly 3 died. But to have 8 or 10 of them survive is outstanding for 1880 Ireland. Rural 1880 Ireland. They were so poor. They were so poor. I mean, the Irish generally. But this family was, so poor. We look at that now and we think, oh my God, this is Stone Age kind of, but yeah.
I'm curious if anyone in the audience did it for themselves. Did you?
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
Right? Did you make 3 piles and give yourself a reading while we were doing this? Because I'd be interested to know if anyone did that.
Yeah, that's right, Gina. It was a very typical hard life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did nobody do that?
You're welcome, Gina.
You're welcome, Gina. That was fun. It was hard, but it was fun.
No.
Oh, Rossi says she's going to try it later. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's do the healing. I call on Archangel Michael. I call on Archangel Raphael to bring your healing energies, to cut the cords that tie us to bad habits and bad patterns of thinking that don't serve us anymore, patterns of behavior. I call on the archangels and beings of light, guides, and Akashic Records masters to sever us from those patterns that no longer serve their purpose, to assist us in healing ourselves, to provide us with the guidance and the light that we need. In this lifetime, in all previous lifetimes, in every cell of our beings, for all lifetimes to come. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I'm going to close the records. I would like to close by thanking the light for the truth. I would like to close by thanking the light for the healing energy. And I would like to close by thanking the light for the guidance and compassion towards our soul's purpose. And with this, we lock the record of this group. The records are now closed.
And so it is. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Linda. This has been amazing.
Well, thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, everybody who stuck through 2.5, almost 3 hours. Wow, heck.
Here we go, breaking records.
Before we go breaking records, yeah, we don't want to do that. Love you all so much. Thank you all so much for being here. Next week, Gerald will be here, and we're not doing 3 hours, okay? We're just not. And oh my goodness, I was supposed to be somewhere an hour ago. I just realized. Oh well. Tough. Okay. What are you doing next? What
I'm gonna kick my kid off of the computer over there and try and take him somewhere and go do something.
No, I didn't mean like right this minute. I meant, are you?
I'm actually I'm going to be doing some more stuff on my channel about past life work and using tarot for
fascinating.
And I have some collabs coming up, but the details are not in my brain at the moment.
Can I make
sure you don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the bell.
Yes, please don't forget. And can I make a suggestion?
Yes. I have my calendar, but it's all the way over there, so I can't.
This is my brain. This is how my brain works. I had to train myself to do this, but it's really helpful. Anyway, love you all. Thank you all so much. And I'll see you next week. Mwah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, you know what I almost forgot?
Huh.
Look what I've got.